What's up guys, my name is PJ. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite books. This book is a book that has been with me throughout the years. I read this book for the first time in 2013 after I had went through what at the time was my first major breakup, which in hindsight it was really nothing, but to me it felt like a major deal in my life, and so I was on a soul-searching quest to understand where I went wrong and what I did wrong, and I stumbled upon this book, The Way of the Superior Man, by this man named Deida. And since that day in 2013, or maybe it was 14, since that time, this book has been a staple in my life. It's a book that I often revisit, and that's why I didn't even really feel like I need to write an outline for this video, even though I usually do for my other videos. I've listened to this audiobook, I've listened to this book and read the book so many times that I feel like I know it by heart. And so I just wanted to come on here, share with you one of my favorite books in hopes that it is helpful for you as well. And yeah, just wanted to talk to you about The Way of the Superior Man. Like I said, this is a book that has been with me for many years now. And the teachings of Deida through all of his books, they have been very helpful, and they've acted like guideposts in my life and have helped me illuminate different chapters of my life and help me understand how I can best navigate them as a man with a masculine essence, which we'll talk about what that means. So I don't think there's ever been a time in our human history that we have been as confused about what a man is and what a woman is and all that stuff. So before I get canceled on here, let's just we're going to talk about masculine essence, masculine polarity or masculine energy, feminine energy. We're going to talk about how people of both sexes can, or any sex for that matter, can embody these energies. It doesn't matter if you are a homosexual or a heterosexual or whatever, in between. These poles, the masculine and feminine pole, they operate in all of us, and they are existing in nature and everywhere that we look. So we're going to talk about what those are. We're going to talk about the teachings of this book, and we're kind of going to go in chapters or in parts, because The Way of the Superior Man, it's meant for or it's written for a lot of men. So it's very straightforward, as Deida talks about how the masculine essence within all of us is more like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whereas like it goes in a linear kind of like boom, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. Whereas like the feminine is more flowy, so it's more conversational. So in this video, we're going to kind of embody both of them. So I'm going to kind of talk to you conversationally based on what I have learned from this book. And also we're going to go in a kind of a masculine fashion, and we're going to go point by point based on chapters, or rather the parts of this book, because within each part, there's like 5 or 6 chapters. So we're just going to talk about kind of the general vibe or the general meaning and the main points that Deida makes in each part. And again, like I said, this book has been just super helpful to me through every season of life and to this day. And so I want to thank Deida if he ever watches this video, and tell him that this book has helped me a ton. And I hope that for you guys who watch this video, it also becomes a very helpful book for you, especially if you are a man with a masculine essence. Okay. First off, before we jump into the video, I just want to talk about how Deida talks about how this book, The Way of the Superior Man, is actually mainly and primarily written for men with a masculine dominant essence. And what that means is he basically talks about how each of us, whether we are a man or a woman or anything in between, we actually identify, like it's a spectrum. If this is like the feminine side and this is the masculine side, we all fall somewhere within that spectrum. Some people, he says, it's actually more rare than people think, but they are balanced. So meaning that, neither polarity necessarily turns them on. If you're a very feminine person and you meet someone who's very masculine, there is a pull of attraction. And he talks about how for sexual attraction, regardless of if it's a heterosexual relationship or a homosexual relationship, you need these poles, these feminine and masculines, to have what he calls polarity. And so basically, these two poles They need each other. So if you are a person with a very feminine essence and you encounter someone who's very heavy in their masculine essence, there is going to be a pull of sex, or a polarity basically, and sexual attraction is very feasible and possible in that scenario. Whereas you have those balanced people as well. So anyways, he talks about how this book, The Way of the Superior Man, is mainly written for people who are a man and have a masculine essence. But a man can also have a feminine essence. And we all have both, but it's just like a spectrum, like I said. But, you know, the book mainly is going to help the people in this category the most, a man with a masculine essence. However, partners of these people and also anybody really can benefit from this book, but they have to kind of change certain things to certain parts of the book. Like, for example, if he's talking about how a masculine man or a masculine essence man is like this, you have to kind of, in your head, if you're a woman with a feminine essence reading this, be like, okay, if this is what that looks like, what would be kind of the opposite of that? And then you get a pretty clear idea of what the feminine essence side of that would look like. But also, Deida does have books for women. One is called Dear Lover and one is called Intimate Communion, which this book is actually for both, you know, sexes. But if you are a woman and you do want to dive into Deida's works, those books are good ones to check out. But let's go back to The Way of the Superior Man. The first part of the book, The Way of the Superior Man, what I took away from it, it has probably the most chapters out of any part in the book. But basically, the first part of this book is all about purpose, the importance of having a purpose for a man, and basically knowing your direction in life as a man. He actually talks about how, as a man, if you do not know your purpose, literally immediately right now, go and try to figure it out. Like, that's how important it is, because he talks about how you want to basically structure your life around your purpose. So everything, he says most men basically structure their life around their fears and avoiding them. So most men, he says, like they find a job, they find a partner out of fear, not out of purpose. Meaning that they are, let's say, very afraid of not having money and they get like the first job that's handed to them, versus diving deeply into themselves, finding out what their purpose is, and finding a way to make a living around that and express that purpose through their beingness. And so that's like basically how you can create the livelihood that you have around your purpose versus around your fears. Now, he also talks about how some men also get in relationship based on a place of fear, whereas we want to get in relationship based on a place of purpose, based on a place of finding what our true life purpose is, what our essence, our beingness is here to do and give to the world, that gift as he calls it, finding that, and then surrounding ourselves, like finding an intimate partner that is a match to that, versus, oh, I am afraid of being alone, and that fear ends up being what dominates the person's choice of a partner. You know, they're just going to say yes to the first person that comes along because they're afraid to be alone. Whereas a person who's clear about their life purpose and their mission, I kind of like the word mission even more so than purpose sometimes, because, well, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to say I like it more than purpose, but I do like it in terms of clarifying what purpose is. It's like a mission. We all have this life mission. We all have dropped onto this planet Earth, and none of us are useless. None of us are purposeless. Each person serves a purpose and has a mission and is here for that specific mission, which I do believe that mission could also change. Like, it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto. Like, you have this mission, you know, and then you complete that and then you move on to the next mission and next mission for like each chapter of your life. But basically, it's kind of like we all have this mission, and it's our job to find that and fulfill that. And our highest fulfillment will be reached in fulfilling that mission and will be accomplished through doing that. And so, yeah, he talks about how finding a mission, finding your mission, your life mission is important, and then creating all the structures in your life around that and to support that. He also says, like, a man should never use his family or anything as an excuse to not achieve and accomplish his mission or go after his mission and his purpose, because he's like, it's like your duty as a man with a masculine essence to fulfill that. Now, I think this is a good part to talk about what masculine essence is. In a lot of ways, I think it boils down to having a direction. If the feminine is more like the wind and it's flowy, it's like if a feminine essence woman is working in the, in the kitchen, is cooking a delicious meal. This is not to play on a stereotype, okay? But basically, let's say this woman is beautifully moving from one thing to another, like mixes something in a bowl and then moves on to kind of the condiments and then adds some seasoning to this and then moves on. It's very like, it's like a dance, right? Their movements in the kitchen is like a dance. It's from one thing to another in a very flowy, beautiful way. And it leads to the creation of this beautiful, delicious meal. Now, if a man with a masculine essence is in that kitchen and trying to do that job, it's more like, okay, what's the measurement of this? It's very like clear. It's from point A to B to C. It's not like, oh, let me flow from this task to this. And not that a man cannot do that, but I'm just saying, like, just to kind of paint an example of what having a direction versus flow looks like. So a man may even go there with like a list. Okay, I first got to do this. 2, I got to do this. 3, I got to do this. And then like for me, for example, when I'm making my coffee in the mornings, I kind of have it down to a science. Like I measure everything and I have my grinder set to a certain setting. I don't like it to be even 0.1 gram over like what the beans are supposed to be. And I just like it. I just like having it that particular and that clear cut, because to me that feels like a structure, a repeatable process, and it's very fulfilling to me. To my masculine essence, that is very fulfilling. Whereas my girlfriend, for example, when she makes coffee, is very like flowy. It's eyeballing. It's just like maybe she's like dancing to some music in her headphones, and it's very flowy. It's not structured. And that drives me insane to watch, because I'm like, you're not going to repeat that cup of coffee next time. But it doesn't matter, because for the feminine, the flow is more enjoyable than that clear cut A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, like I said, we all have these poles. We all have the both sides. So it's not like a man can never flow. A woman can never have structure. And, I think as a society, we have more and more moved towards more and more of a, we can do both. But it's not that we can't do both, but it's that we all have that natural essence. So David Deida talks about how we all have, at the end of the day, that one essence. For most people, he does say there are balanced people, but they are rare in his analysis and what he's found in his life. But for most of us, if we're really honest with ourselves, at the end of the day, in one of these poles, we are like the most relaxed or at home in. I feel like you can like imagine a guy that's very masculine, that's very like in their masculine essence, and it's just like who that person is. And then there are some women that are very much in their feminine, very much in touch with their body and their ability to like move and dance and flow and all those things. So it's like we all can think of those kind of people that are really heavy in that essence, in each of these essences. And it's like, oh, that person, that's just like their natural essence, right? Doesn't mean any of these people cannot embody that other side. But at the end of the day, if they're honest with themselves and if they, are fully relaxed, fully comfortable, they will lean into one of these sides more. And David Deida talks about how, like, if you're honest, at the end of the day, one of these will be most appealing to you and the other side will turn you on the most. Like, if you're honest with yourself, like a woman in a feminine essence, will turn you on. If you're a masculine man with a masculine essence, or even in a homosexual relationship, okay? Like even if you are a woman with a masculine essence, with a heavy masculine essence, a woman in a feminine essence is going to be attractive. Like if you're honest with yourself, basically what David Deida says, it's like you are going to find that opposite pole attractive, and you're going to know what your pole is based on which pole you find most attractive. So that's kind of like the gist of how, we all have these essences and we can move within them. But at the end of the day, one of them is going to feel the most home to us. It's going to be most authentic to us and who we are here to be. So the first part of the Way of the Superior Man is all about the importance of a person with a masculine essence to find their purpose, to find their mission. And it's almost like put everything on pause and find that. And he recommends to, cut out all distractions for like a week, maybe even go to a retreat or somewhere where you can be alone by yourself. No distractions, no phones, no business, no nothing, right? Like it's just emptiness. Create that scenario for yourself, whether it's to go on a camping trip by yourself, whether it's to just isolate yourself in some shape or form, and eliminate distractions and just do it like a big soul searching. Like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? And for me, what has helped me in that is actually this, talking to a camera. And you don't have to ever post it, but for me, one of the first ways I feel like I tapped into what I'm here to do was when I had just this flash of an idea to just video myself talking about some thoughts that were in my head in order to clear my mind. And that was like my first flash of insight of how powerful of a tool this medium, this platform, this talking to a camera can be, or literally just talking to yourself out loud. It doesn't even matter. But like, I think having this third person kind of vibe going on, that really helps out. I know for sure it helps me. But the second thing is journaling. I think journaling is phenomenal because in journaling, instead of just thinking thoughts, you can follow them. So you can very systematically be like, okay, I just had this thought and I'm going to follow that train of thought. Whereas like when you're just doing it in your head, it's kind of harder. But for me, again, like I said, video journaling and just journaling on a piece of paper, those help me a ton in wanting to get more clear in my life, and they have helped me a lot in finding what I'm here to do and finding my purpose to a great degree. And I believe that they can help you as well. So check those methods out, as they have been helpful for me and they may be helpful for you as well. But anyways, that is kind of the conclusion of part 1 of The Way of the Superior Man. It's all about find your purpose, just drop everything else, find your purpose, and then move on to kind of the next chapters of your life. Because like I said, Deida emphasizes how important it is for man, for anyone with a masculine essence, to structure their life around their purpose. And real quick, I'll say this about the feminine essence. If for the masculine essence, direction and purpose is the most important thing, for the feminine essence, flow of love in the relationship or in their relationships in their life, or just love in general, is the most important thing. Not that a man can't love. Again, I feel like I have to reiterate this, and Deida reiterates this a lot too. Like, these are just to like help us kind of like think through these things, versus being like, this is exactly what it is. A man, can never love, or a woman can never, have direction. It's not like that whatsoever. Okay. So anyways, the man or the masculine essence, again, it doesn't have to be a man, but the masculine essence, direction and purpose is a key kind of factor and ingredient for their fulfillment. And for the woman for the feminine essence, is the flow of love in their intimate relationships, and just in their life. So part 2 of The Way of the Superior Man is all about how to deal with women in as a masculine man, how to deal with women. And this book came out in I think in the year 2000 or something like that. So I feel like writing a book like this in 2022 would be a lot harder, just because of how difficult it is to talk about gender and just all topics related to that. But anyways, I'm just glad that this book came out then, so it could be published. But basically, the chapter or the part 2 of the book is all about how to deal with women. And one of the main things that Deida talks about in this chapter is how important it is for a man to be grounded and be a source of clarity and direction for the woman. So a woman who is in their feminine essence will feel the most safe if they have, if their partner who's in their masculine essence is grounded and connected to kind of the purpose, and can basically, it's like if they are the storm, like let's say they're going through some sort of emotional problem in their life, something that's stressful for them, the man who is in their masculine essence can relax, be grounded, be like a mountain. And if they are the rain, they can rain on this mountain without the mountain being affected by that. So they can absorb that, be calm, be grounded, and allow the flow of the feminine to happen, and they create the space for that to happen. So they're the safe space where the woman can feel safe, the person in their feminine essence can feel safe to be vulnerable and to flow and express those emotions. and then they can help them find a way through. So it's like, listen and then help, find a way through. But like, don't just find a way through in terms of like, the moment like the woman who is in their feminine essence tells you something and you're in the masculine essence, don't immediately be like, oh, this is your solution. Because I know for a lot of men, that is the easy thing to do. But the way of the superior man, which is not just like the way of any man, the way of the superior man is to take that in, be that safe space, be that grounded space for the woman, allow them to express, allow them to feel safe and feel your presence, as he calls it, your consciousness, your presence. So you're here with them. You're here fully with them. He talks about how like one of the most valuable assets for a man is his presence, his consciousness. It's his ability to be here now, fully present, fully in this moment, and offer that as a gift to their woman and to honestly anyone in their life, including men, including, anyone, to bring that presence, bring that consciousness to the world. And that a superior man, that's actually like their main gift to the world. It's their consciousness. They bring a higher level of presence to the world and offer that to the world and are like a safe space for the world in a lot of ways. So anyways, the chapter or the part 2 of this book is a lot about that. It's a lot about how to be the rock, be the mountain, allow the woman to feel safe. The woman can be like the wind or the ocean or the rain. And it's like if you're a mountain in the middle of the ocean is like moving alongside the mountain and is flowing, and the mountain is like steady. And so the man in the masculine essence is present, is grounded, is steady, and the woman can feel safe to be herself. And I think that like one of the reasons that a lot of women just to kind of use a stereotype, they say like they like bad boys, or like, oh, like the nice guy type of guys, like who I have been a part of that group, but complain about, oh, like girls fall for the bad guy or stuff like that. But the reason that is because that bad boy, that stereotype is grounded, is kind of clear about who they are, and they can create this safe space where they're not affected by the emotions of the woman, and they can actually, be this grounded, safe space for them to feel safe and feel free. And so the woman, it's like, the woman will feel safe to like be herself and relax and let go and know that that person got them, right? Like the nice guy stereotype sometimes doesn't offer that. So it's why like the bad boy is a little bit more certain in who they are. Also, older men, I feel like, have this more of a certainty about who they are. They're clear in their purpose. They're clear about their why. And so they can bring that kind of energy that a lot of people in a feminine essence, women in feminine essence, crave that. And so the reason like, all the nice guys, complain about, oh, well, all the girls fall for the bad guys is because, or the bad boys, is because they bring this kind of more grounded energy, and the woman feels free to relax, and it's like a permission to be herself. And it's like, that song is like, girls just want to have fun. It's like the bad boy allows for the space for that woman to feel safe, to have that and relax and flow. So anyways, that's kind of like the part 2. Obviously there's a lot more to it. I'm not trying to like literally teach the book like word by word, but I'm just trying to go through all the major chapters and kind of like we're going to go through kind of the main parts, and I'm going to just share with you the main takeaways that I've had from those. So let's move on to the next part right here. Okay, part 3 of the Way of the Superior Man is all about working with polarity and energy. And this is all about, it's actually one of the most, I think, impactful parts of the book in order, the understanding of polarity, of how not just what is masculine energy, what is feminine energy, not just that, but how do they flow and work together. That is one of the most eye-opening, I think, chapters or parts of this book and realizations that I've had from reading this book. Back in 2013 or 14, whenever it was, when I had gone through that first breakup, when I read The Way of the Superior Man, especially that part of The Way of the Superior Man, I realized how in terms of polarity, I had done everything wrong, like 100%. So it was a no-brainer that relationship would fall away. You know, it was just like, duh, you know, once you understand polarity and how it works and how feminine and masculine energy work together, it just becomes so obvious. So I think when it comes to that part of that book, The Way of the Superior Man, it's all about just understanding how feminine and masculine energy work together. And once you understand that, once you grasp that, it's like attraction becomes so obvious. So polarity by definition means that in order to have attraction, sexual attraction, even if it's in a gay relationship, you know, lesbian relationship, whatever, in a normal heterosexual relationship, you need to have these opposite poles. And he talks about actually how, you know, the gay and lesbian couples understand this better than some heterosexual couples do. They understand that one person in the relationship is going to be more like the more dominant, the more masculine, and one's going to be the more feminine, the more submissive. And I believe that one of the reasons that 50 Shades of Grey was so popular amongst people, even like, you know, whoever, like, you know, even people who wouldn't consider themselves to be into that, there was something about that book, something about the concept of what it was talking about that was attractive to millions of people, even if they were ashamed to even be seen like reading that book. It was because a lot of people subconsciously understand these things, but do not yet understand like why am I attracted to this billionaire? To, you know, like, it's just like certain things are subconsciously, like, once they see it in a format like that, like in a book like that, they're like, oh, that's hot, or like that's attractive. But they may not know consciously what it is about what's going on in that situation that is attractive, but subconsciously there's something about it that is attractive and that is a turn on. And one of the main reasons it is a turn on is because the woman in 50 Shades of Grey is like so feminine, uberly feminine, like the most, you know, just like, it's just like the way she's dressed. I mean, I've seen the movies, but it's like the way she's dressing in the first parts of the movie. So like, she's always wearing a dress, like so feminine, so like just insanely feminine, right? And then this guy, this billionaire guy, Christian Grey or whatever, I should have not mentioned his name because I don't want to seem like that guy that knows every freaking detail about this movie. But anyways, this guy, the billionaire guy, he has like, not only is he a billionaire, he's obsessed with control and he's like leading people and he's clear about his purpose and mission and why. So he's like everything about like the masculine essence, you know, not like the superior man. Let's just talk about how like in the kind of like the more 3D sense of the word, the more matrix version of the masculine man, like he's like the ideal stereotype. Now, the superior man, the reason I kind of wanted to make that distinguishment is because the way of the superior man is so much about presence and consciousness. And so I wouldn't necessarily associate Christian Grey with like the highest consciousness, you know, or like highest presence, you know, but nonetheless, he embodies that masculine essence. And so the way that this attraction between these two works is like, there is insane polarity, like from the first meeting. And that's actually something that he talks about too. David Deida talks about how when it's like electricity, right? For electricity, you need two poles. And once it's kind of like when you are jumping a car or whatever, you know, or like when you connect two poles of the opposite, right? You get like the electricity, you get the charges going. It's literally like that. So like, it's an obvious thing that there's going to be that sexual spark between Christian Grey in that case and the girl who I don't remember the name of, but there's going to be that. So in real life, it's also going to be the same case. You know, when a very masculine man encounters a very feminine essence woman, there's going to be that spark. And it works like that. And also, David Deida talks about how each woman brings kind of like a different shade of the feminine energy. And these different, I don't want to say woman, people with feminine energy, okay? They bring a different essence of that, different shade of that in a lot of ways. And a man can be inspired by that. And I feel like a lot of great artists, I know like, I was listening to like some sort of documentary or something, and they were talking about how Lil Wayne would literally always take a girl with him to the studio, not like just so that like the girl can be like his muse and inspire him. Just like the girl, the feminine energy being in the studio would just be an inspiration for this masculine essence man. And the feminine does that for a man. So it's like, I was thinking about how like if a group of 100 men were dropped off on an island, you know, without any feminine essence, like that would just like, it would like, they would just burn up. Like it would just not be the nourishing influence of the feminine in their lives. And the feminine is so inspiring for men, which is why I feel like a lot of artists, a lot of art, a lot of movies, a lot of music, a lot of all of this stuff, especially if it's made by a man in the masculine essence, they have been inspired by the feminine essence. That's why they say behind every great man is a great woman, you know? So I think Deida just does a great job at showing you what you may already subconsciously know, but giving you the words to understand it in a more of an energetical, you know, kind of clear-cut way, because electricity works the same way as polarity works. And once you understand that and you start seeing it everywhere, you're like, it makes so much sense. Like you see advertisements and you're like, oh, they're doing that because of the polarity. Or you see something else, or you see a couple, immediately you can know if that couple has great polarity or not. Like sometimes movies do a horrible job, especially nowadays, of creating a realistic relationship based on polarity. Like Deida talks about how if you are a man in a masculine essence, and your woman also has a masculine essence, that would be like two buddies hanging out. It's like two friends. It's like two sides of the same magnet. You know how they repel each other? There may be great love. There may be great friendship amongst these two, but there is not going to be that sexual spark that like, I cannot wait to take your clothes off kind of spark, you know? So that's not going to be there if that polarity is not there. So understanding polarity just helps you see life differently and helps you understand what the heck is going on just everywhere that you look at, like different relationships, different famous couples. You like immediately understand, oh, that's why that person is with that person. So actually, before I forget, me and my partner, my beloved Victoria, we made a video a few months ago about this very same topic, because actually one of the first key kind of things in common that we found with each other when we first met was our just common interest in Deida's teachings, and like we just immediately related on that. And we just made a video a few months ago. I said it was like in September. We made this video about our relationship, how polarity works within that, our understanding of polarity, and how it showed up the first time we met. And, you know, the moment I realized she knows about that, I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to be into my game. Like she's going to know what's going on. And so I had to be on top of my kind of like, because it's like when you know someone else knows about this stuff, especially if they're of the opposite sex, then you're like, oh, they're going to see through like the whole thing. It's kind of like you have these X-ray vision kind of glasses. And I knew she had that. So in that video, which I think will be linked up there, you can check out kind of our story and how I don't want to say I use, but my understanding of polarity, how I was able to utilize it to make sure that this person whom I was interested and attracted in also finds me attractive and not make the same mistakes that I have made 1,000 million times before and fall into a friend zone with someone whom now I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So that's for your viewing pleasure. Check that out. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right. The next part in this book is all about what women really want. That's kind of the title of that part. But the main takeaway from that section, I'll share this with you. Because again, like I'm not trying to go into every single detail. The book is pretty long-ish. It's pretty long in my estimation. But basically it's about, I don't know, like 400 pages maybe? No, it's way less, but it's like 150 pages. But I'm a slow reader, so to me it seemed like a long book. But anyways, that next part is all about what women really want. And the main takeaway there for me was, you know, when I first read the book and just understanding the book more and more over the years, and it's one of those books that I always say this about that book. that it is one of those books that grows with you. As you grow and as you move into different chapters of your life, this book grows with you, and certain chapters within it that maybe before it was kind of like not as resonant, they become like the most resonant. And you're like, I don't even remember this part being in this book, but it's like freaking mind blowing, but it's just one of those books that ages super well with you. But anyways, this part, in this section, what women really want, one of the main takeaways for me was that this is crazy. Okay. But stick with me on this and follow me on this. So he basically talks about how a woman who is in their feminine essence, will actually want you more and be more attracted to you if they know they're not your main purpose in life. That your purpose comes first, and they are an absolute amazing part of your life, but they are not your purpose. And I think like back in the days before, I definitely used to make this mistake where I was like, oh my God, the girl that like I'm into, like the best way I can just like, make sure that they know like how much I like them is like make them my life purpose, like be obsessed. And that is like the short way to just ruin a relationship, immediately fall into friend zone for the rest of your life. So that understanding from that book was super important to me, that like choose purpose first. Your purpose comes first. And he talks about how like a woman may have like a husband who is in the military or a firefighter or like a lot of women say, who are in their feminine essence, say, oh, I love a man in uniform. And as guys, we're like, what? Or like, I can wear a uniform. Like it's no big deal. But it's not about the uniform. It's about what it represents. And what it represents is an answering to a higher calling. A man who is wearing that uniform has answered a higher calling, or so it's perceived as so. Okay, like some, I'm sure every case is different, but the way that it comes off is like, oh, that's an answer to a higher calling, a higher cause, a higher purpose, and that is attractive. And if that man who is in the military, if it's a time of war, like that man's gonna go for that purpose, and that woman will not at all want that man to go to work, to leave for that higher purpose, for that higher cause. But there is a part of that woman that will be more attracted to a man who will say yes to his purpose first before he says yes to her. And that is just something of like feminine nature. It's like because you can trust a man who will answer that higher calling, and it's a very attractive thing. It's an important thing, I believe, to have in a relationship, to not make your partner be your purpose, because your purpose has to be greater. In my experience, your purpose has to be greater than the relationship for the relationship to thrive. So that's my main takeaway from that part. We're going to move on to the next chapter. Okay, now this next chapter is kind of a controversial chapter, but it's called, let me see, it's called Your Dark Side. And it basically talks about how like, how people talk about toxic masculinity, and he basically talks about like, it's not that you want to be a toxic masculine person, but it's like the aggressive side of you in a lot of ways. The aggressive side of you is not that you want to let that come out and play like all the time, but what he talks about, one of the examples he offers in that chapter is like, if you're in bed with your woman, not like having sex, but you're like sleeping, and then you hear a random sound downstairs, you don't want to point to your woman and say, you go check downstairs and make sure we're safe. The woman wants to know that you are able to protect her, even if she doesn't necessarily express that. Like if there's a cockroach, like she doesn't want you to be like, as a masculine man, she doesn't want you to be like, oh, kill that cockroach. Like she wants you to be able to handle that. And so a lot of that chapter is just about how like the woman ultimately wants to be able to trust the masculine essence of the man, and trust his direction, and trust that he can protect her and take care of her. And so that's kind of like the gist of that chapter. It's a little bit more complex than that if you read it, but I just want to kind of take that part of it and share with you. So let's just keep it to that, and then we're going to move to the next chapter now. Part 6 is called Feminine Attractiveness. And this kind of goes back to one of the earlier points, but it talks about how like each woman, each person with a feminine energy brings a different energy to a masculine man's, or a person with a masculine essence. It brings a different energy to their life. And it's important to understand how that energy can be nourishing. It's not like go in and sleep with every single, person that is, attractive or is feminine, has feminine energy. It's not that. It's that understanding how this feminine energy can be very nourishing for the masculine man. It can help them actually tap more into their purpose versus something that becomes a distraction from their purpose. So once you understand how this feminine energy is a nourishing energy of life, like food, basically he talks about how like everything that changes is feminine energy. So food, like anything, right? Like the weather, everything that we see, all of it, life, the masculine energy is the consciousness, is the presence. It's basically like the awareness. The way I kind of see it in my mind is like the masculine energy is like the canvas and the feminine energy is like the painting on the canvas. So without the canvas, the painting wouldn't be, but without the painting, the canvas would be not as fun, to look at. So, and exciting and nourishing, right? A beautiful painting can be nourishing for us. It can like rejuvenate and excite us and just bring beauty in our life. Just like the feminine energy can do the same thing. And so the feminine energy, when a man understands how to use it, can be very nourishing for it. And every day, like a man may, after a long day of work, may crave a beer or may crave like, some good food or something, and that is feminine energy. That is a craving for the feminine energy. And once a man understand, like once I understood, oh wow, like, after a long, hard day of work, I can now tell, oh, like I'm craving the feminine, right? So like, what's a better alternative than a beer, even though beer is amazing, but what's a better alternative? Maybe a yin yoga would be a better nourishing form of the feminine for me now versus, binge watching a TV show and just zoning out, That understanding can help you understand how you can absorb the feminine energy and have it nourish you and replenish you so that you can go out and pursue your purpose even more. So that chapter is basically all about that. It's about understanding that different people who have a feminine energy, they bring a different, let's say, tone or color of that energy. So it's like, or tint of that energy. That's what I meant to say. It's like if the feminine energy is all like green, it's like a different tint. Some are darker green, lighter green, and they all have their like own nourishing effect on a masculine man. But it's all about learning how to use that. And it's not like, it's to not let that nourishment turn into something destructive where like you become a sex addict or like you're just obsessed, like just chasing women all the time. No, but you're like, oh, I understand as a masculine man that the feminine in the world, it nourishes me. So I'm going to allow that nourishment, and go back into my purpose. It's like, it just gives you a different understanding to, because a lot of men will be like attracted to the feminine in the world and not know what to do with that. The world doesn't really have a handbook of like, oh, you're attracted? Like, here's what you do. Here's how you utilize that attraction for a higher purpose, for God, like literally, like for a much higher meaning versus, oh, I'm just gonna like do the low vibrational action about that. So anyways, that chapter is very eye-opening when it comes to how to understand the nourishing effect of the feminine. All right, this next chapter is all about sexual practices for men. And he basically talks about how like a lot of how a masculine man shows up in the world is like how they express themselves through their body. And part of that is obviously through their sexual organ. And so he basically shows this practice. And the first time my eyes were open to this concept was when I saw this book title that was like just mind-blowing to me at the time. It was called The Multi-Orgasmic Man by Montauk Chia. And so this book, later on I got into Taoism, I got into Qigong, I got into yoga. I started understanding all of this in a much just greater way. But it was like the first time that book title that made me realize you can actually, as a man, not ejaculate and instead use that sexual energy for replenishment and for chasing your purpose. I've heard a lot of boxers would use semen retention, basically not have sex prior, 90 days prior to a fight, to have all that energy replenish them and build up, and then when they go into a fight they felt a lot more powerful. So basically that whole chapter in The Way of the Superior Man, David Deida has another phenomenal, incredible book called Enlightened Sex, which is all about what he briefly talks about in that section of the Way of the Superior Man. But it's all about how to instead of having sexual intercourse and allowing the energy, the masculine energy, to eject out of you, there is a way through breathing and conscious visualization, and it doesn't even have to be during sex, but you can do this and Qigong, which is something I practice, talks about the movement of qi, the movement of bioelectricity, the movement of energy in your body. And basically you want to learn how to, through breath and conscious effort, move that energy. So instead of it going out of you, exiting you through ejaculation, you learn how to control that and recirculate that in your body. So it becomes a nourishing thing, because a lot of men will feel depleted after that. But this actually is a way for that to nourish you by moving the energy. So instead of it going out of you, the energy will move like a battery, like a circuit of electricity. It just moves from down. It's it doesn't go down and then out. It goes, it almost gets there and then comes back up through your spine like this, and goes back, and it just flows within you. So it supercharges your beingness. So semen retention, no FAP, all this stuff, just super powerful stuff. If you're a guy, you're watching this and you have never heard of this stuff, look into it, because I promise you it can be life-changing for you. If you have not given it a try, just try it out. See what happens if you give this practice, this semen retention, no FAP, all this stuff, these practices that are popular online. If you give these a try, they can be absolutely life-changing. And I think for every man, understanding how to control their sexual energy is one of the biggest growth steps that you can go through, because so many men, especially in this OnlyFans kind of culture, we do not we're like a dog on a leash. We are controlled because of our sexual energy. It's people, society, girls and stuff, they can control. As long as you don't know how to control your own sexual energy and how to master that, the world will control you and tell you what to do. And as long as you have not become a master of that part of yourself, you have not become a master of your life. I think ultimate mastery is mastery over your mind, but mastery over your sexual essence and over your sexual energy is one of the highest forms of mastery as well, because especially in today's modern day and culture, that is hyper sexualized. It's sex always in your face, and all these things porn and OnlyFans and all kinds of stuff, and just all of that stuff. If you do not know how to control your sexual energy, you will become a depleting machine that's just constantly being depleted, instead of learning how to not give that energy out into the world and instead harness it for your own purpose and for your highest good and for the highest good of the world, And so it's incredible stuff. Highly recommend you guys to look into Enlightened Sex by David Deida to learn more about this stuff, and obviously read The Way of the Superior Man and those chapters in it. Also, before I forget, one of the main guys that brought this concept about or made it popular in the 1930s is Napoleon Hill. The book Think and Grow Rich. Towards the end, there's a chapter in that book And I'm sure like people back in the 1930s, they were like, what? Like, what is this guy talking about? But what he's talking about, and it's about semen retention, it's about controlling your sexual energy, which he's talking about it in like the 1930s. That concept is super powerful. And he basically, like the whole book, Think and Grow Rich, which is another incredible, phenomenal, life-changing book. He basically, in that book, Napoleon Hill is interviewing the most like richest, successful people of like the late 20th century. And these are people that like by today's standard, like the Andrew Carnegies and Rockefellers, like these people, like by today's standards, these people will be like probably richer than like Jeff Bezos, like in something insane. But anyways, he has interviewed like the most famous, or not famous, but most successful people of that time. And a lot of them that he interviews swore by this practice. So it's incredible, powerful stuff. If you're a man, totally like give it a try, check it out. And there's literally nothing to lose, so, and like in unlimited amounts of energy to gain. So give it a try. But let's move on to the very last part of the Way of the Superior Man. All right. The last part of the Way of the Superior Man is called Men's and Women's Yoga of Intimacy. And I'll just read one chapter, like the title of the chapter of this book, or of this part is called, You Are Responsible for the Growth and Intimacy in the Relationship. And basically talks about how the woman, like basically, or the feminine partner in a relationship, like I said, this literally could be a homosexual relationship. It doesn't have to be about a heterosexual relationship, but the feminine partner in the relationship is the most in touch with the flow of love and is very attuned to that. So like, let's say as a man with masculine essence, you come home to your partner who is in their feminine essence and you're kind of short with them. You don't give them that much attention. Maybe you're tired from work or whatever, and you're just kind of in a zoned out kind of place. They will feel that lack of love coming from you. And it is kind of a heartbreaking experience for the feminine woman person with feminine essence, because the flow of love is like the key thing for them, right? And so that is their primary focus. For the men, it's the growth of the relationship and the direction of the relationship. So it's the man, not the man, but it's the mass. It's so hard to like, and David Deida talks about how like in the very introduction of the Way of Superior Man, that like when he's saying man, he is saying just anyone with a masculine essence, but that would have been super redundant, and I see why, if he tried to like explain every variation that could possibly be a woman in a masculine essence. Like, so when I say man, don't necessarily just take it as, oh, it's only men. No, like it could be anyone that has a masculine essence. So anyways, anyone with a masculine essence, like in their relationship, it's their job to manage the growth in their relationship, the direction of the relationship, and basically, where are we going? Where is our relationship going? Where are we headed? To me, the way I see it is like, if you're on a ship, the masculine man is the captain, and the feminine woman or feminine essence person is the chef or the hospitality organizer of the ship. So they like make everyone have a just beautiful, awesome experience, it's just like beauty, love, nourishment. So like, and then the masculine man is like in charge of the direction. Where are we going? Are we gonna head for the iceberg like Titanic, or are we gonna like get to our destination where we're going? So that's kind of like a big part of what that chapter is about. And then the last chapter or section, the last chapter in that section is restore your purpose in solitude and with other men. And so he basically talks about, he keeps reiterating, throughout the whole book, but in that chapter again, how important it is for the man, a masculine man, to remember his purpose. Like I remember, I literally put like a post-it note on my wall that said, remember purpose, or remember your purpose, because And Mike Todd is a pastor from a church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where I live, called Transformation Church. Amazing church and amazing pastor. But basically I saw an Instagram reel that he posted, and he said, vision leaks. And what he was meaning by that is like, if you don't water, it's like a vision is like this bucket that has like a tiny hole at the bottom. And so you have all this water of vision, purpose, mission, all that in there. It slowly is leaking. So unless you water that often, your vision will leak. And if you don't water it often, if you don't remember your purpose often, it will leak. And, I said it in my last video about keep it simple, that I have been going through like a weird phase in the past 3 months where I've not been as like clear in my mission and purpose. And I'm getting back to that, and making these videos is a big part of remembering that and doing that. But it's the importance of remembering my purpose in this case, like my purpose, remembering that I understood why it's important to water that vision, why it's important to consciously remember it, because it's so easy to get lost in our day-to-day tasks. And actually, one of the very first chapters of the Way of the Superior Man, it says, let's see, don't get lost in tasks and duties. And he basically talks about how, like, as a man with a masculine essence, it's so easy to literally get so lost in just the day-to-day tasks of life. And like, how many people in general do you see like where that becomes their fate? It becomes it's just like, live your life, do the job, pay your bills, go to sleep, repeat. And it becomes like this robotic life. And that's why it's important to water your purpose, to remember your purpose. Like now, like I said, I've been going through this like 3-month kind of weird phase. Now I'm like literally every week I'm journaling on my purpose, like trying to remember and remind. It's not just necessarily about remembering, but reminding myself of it, because I deeply feel like I know, but then if I don't water it, it will leak. So that's kind of like how David Deida ends The Way of the Superior Man. He talks about how, bro, like, at the end of the day, you got to water that vision. You got to feed that faith. You got to paint that picture and keep your attention on it, because the life's day-to-day tasks, are repetitive responsibilities. They will come and drown out that purpose if you don't water it. So, sometimes I think about like Elon Musk or someone who has that like big mission. Like there is 1,000 million other small things that are going on a day-to-day basis, small fires that they have to put out, that if they don't constantly water that vision, that higher purpose, it can easily get drowned out by the smaller minutia of life. And so it's our conscious effort to choose purpose and remind ourselves of it. And I always go back to how crazy it is that so much depends on our choice, but how empowering it is also that so much depends on our choice. Like the Course in Miracles, which is the spiritual path that I follow, there's a chapter in there where, the author, which I believe to be the voice of Christ, he talks about how like so many of us do not want to accept how powerful our mind is, because it's daunting. Like, oh my God, like my thoughts and my choices are responsible for so much. He basically is talking about how like we want to say like, no, like God, you got this, like you help me out. But he says like your thoughts are your responsibility. So yes, God, higher power, higher intelligence, the divine, Jesus can guide you, can help you, but ultimately you have to choose, and it's your choice. And that becomes a very frightening prospect for a lot of us. Like we don't want to accept just the amount of responsibility that we have and how we control our choice and what we focus on. But it's also an insanely empowering thing if we really accept it. Like I am responsible for my thoughts, and that is awesome. I get to choose my destiny in a lot of ways. I get to choose my purpose, and I get to choose what I focus on a day-to-day basis. And that determines my destiny in my life. And that to me is a super empowering thing, and one of the concepts that really helped me get out of this kind of 3-month weird mental phase I was going through. It's like this power of choice when it comes to my thoughts. Like I am not a victim of my thoughts, but I choose my thoughts. So anyways, I hope that this video was enjoyable and helpful for you, and I hope that it encourages you to check out The Way of the Superior Man. My goal with this kind of series, I guess you can call it, is to just share with you my favorite books, because books and audiobooks in particular have been an amazing companion on this journey of life with me. And I only hope that I share them with you and they become amazing companions for you on your own journey as they have been on mine. And so one of the books that, I shared today, The Way of the Superior Man, that book has been, it's most likely going to be a lifelong companion for me. And it's been a companion of mine on my life journey for the past, however long, like since 2014. So it's an amazing book. I hope that you guys check it out. If you are a man, masculine essence, for sure check it out. If you are a partner of a masculine essence man, check it out. Give it to them, gift it to them, whatever. And I hope that you guys took something away from the video and that it becomes an encouragement to you to check out the book, because it's kind of a controversial book. I'm sure more than ever it's controversial because, it's hard to talk about this stuff nowadays. But regardless of that, I think you will get some value from it. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, I think there will be some eye-opening experiences from that book. So my hope, like I said, with this kind of series of videos that I'm going to make about books, it's just going to be like every now and then, is to share my favorite books with you, in hopes that they help you as they have helped me. And I hope that this becomes a good start to our journey together of reading these books, and The Way of Superior Man is just a great place to start. So check it out. Again, my name is PJ. Thank you guys for watching this now pretty long video. It's probably like an hour and 15-minute long video, but I had a lot to say. I had learned a lot from The Way of Superior Man, so I had a lot to say and share with you. I hope the video was enjoyable for you. If it was, and if you got some value from it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos of mine on your homepage in YouTube. And with that, thank you and stay tuned. More videos soon to come, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.